So in the new Wii U video, I threw in this little gag where the PS2 asks for a correct region gamepad. You can tell I'm a nerd because when I think of something like this, I just have to figure out if it's technically feasible, and it becomes more about the challenge than about the joke I initially set out to make. It is in fact not just some After Effects paint out. I didn't want to do that because I knew that some parts of the image, especially the moving cubes, probably wouldn't look right. I can show you what I mean with Photoshop. If I were to do a content-aware fill, the text over the soft clouds paints out pretty convincingly, but the text over the cubes loses a lot of definition, which would only be more noticeable when the cubes are moving. So the only way to make this look really good would be through honest-to-God texture swapping, and that is what I did, sort of. As far as I can tell, there's no established documentation for ripping or replacing textures in the PS2 BIOS itself, and, fair enough, there's not that big of a reason to do it. While part of me was tempted to try and document this myself, disassemble the BIOS and reverse engineer it and figure out how it all works, to get the video out in a timely manner I needed a quick solution, and I soon found it. Yes, I have to admit this is not technically a real texture swap, as in this wouldn't in any way work on hardware. It's in fact a very high-level direct 3D texture swap using the emulator PCSX2 and a tool called TextMod. TextMod hooks Direct3D 9 functions of any program to allow for dumping and replacing textures with pretty much anything. You can blank out the textures and create a completely clean plate of the PS2 startup sequence. Initially, my plan was to do this and then add the text later in editing, but I realized if I can swap the textures out, I may as well just put in what I want to say now. The benefit of doing it that way is that the Direct3D code is emulating, as close as it can, the actual graphics pipeline of a PS2. Even though we swapped a Direct3D texture rather than a PS2 texture, it's still going through all the shaders and effects that PCSX2 is emulating, all the interlacing and deinterlacing, basically the whole pipeline that the original texture would have gone through, which means it automatically looks pretty damn authentic. I didn't have to approximate by eye how much to blur it in post or what else might need to be done to make it fit. It's as close to a real PS2 texture swap as we can get it without actually reverse engineering the BIOS. Honestly, it's just kind of cool seeing these textures out of context. I grew up staring at these for so long, and now it's like I'm seeing how it was all put together. I later learned that since January of this year, there's been a fork of PCSX2 with its own texture replacement built in. At one point, it was a pull request to the main PCSX2 repo, but the OP closed it due to some kind of drama and disagreement with someone else. It sounds complicated. Either way, there is a version of PCSX2 that can do this itself, and probably would have been easier if I had known about it, but my guess is it would have looked pretty much the same, so it's whatever. Sure, it might be nice if mainline PCSX2 has this capability one day too, but honestly, I'd only ever really use it for memes like this. I'm not one of those HD texture pack people. But, there are situations like this where even an accuracy-focused person like me can appreciate texture modding. Anyways, I hope you found this interesting, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye guys.